Many thanks again for rejoining us on EDO Decides on independent television. I'm joined now by a human rights and constitutional lawyer, Dennis Osaiting Esquire. Dennis, thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you very much for having me, Pastor
And we also
Sam.
have with us here another human rights lawyer and public affairs analyst. I'm talking about Theophilus Umoru Esquire. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. Recently, a statement was credited to the state leader of the APC, talking about Senator Adams Oshiomhole, in which he accused the PDP governorship candidate of being involved in a poison scheme, talking about Planwell, which was a major issue in the 80s, I suppose, yeah, where a lot of people lost resources and all of that. I understand that a case has been instituted against him on that, but that's not what we're looking at. But we're looking at the import of this as part of the propaganda that we have seen in the last couple of days. Is this just a mere propaganda? Let me begin with you, Pastor Dennis.
Yeah, for me, I would start by, without holding brief for anyone, to say that if that statement actually came from a person in the caliber of a former governor, Adams Oshiomhole, now serving senator, it is most unfortunate. You know, a man of over 70 should by now be gravitating towards becoming a statesman. But to keep acting as a proxy or as a spokesperson to a candidate who cannot speak for himself is more unfortunate, because this is a man who himself was a foremost labor unionist, you know, who came to Edo State and got all the support that he needed to get to become the governor of Edo State. You know, and that such a man should now begin to mount on such very elevated podium and begin to spew lies, satanic propagandas, for me, in order to distract Edo people from staying on the issues. That is very unfortunate. I can tell you very, very frankly that I have done my own research, because I know very well about this so-called Planwell scheme and this Ponzi scheme that happened in Edo. I was quite young, and my parents were also victims of that Ponzi scheme. And when I became a lawyer, I did my own research. I did a very simple search at the CAC, and I found that those who were promoting that particular company, you know, we are well known. It's public knowledge. Those who were behind that company is public knowledge. And I never for once saw the name of Aswa Ighodalo as a director, as an MD, or a chairman of that company. It has never been the case. Those who were involved in that Ponzi scheme were even litigated against. They were charged to court, and some of them even got convicted. You know, for somebody to now come from nowhere and begin to now want to rub it off on a candidate such as Aswa Ighodalo is most unfortunate. And where this man has served is public knowledge. He has been a lawyer, he has been a member of several board and parastatal, and never for once has he been indicted, prosecuted, or even linked either remotely to that of Planwell. So for Adams Oshiomhole to not come on the eve of an election to now want to distract other people is most unfortunate. And again, don't forget that Adams Oshiomhole has a checkered history of always speaking from both sides of his mouth, insulting personalities like the former governor of Edo State, Chief Lucky Gbinedion, even the Rivade Sama, are not coming out, you know, in the night to come and apologize. Just so a few days ago, we saw it on the newspaper. And there was someone coming out to come and apologize for it shamelessly for the very first time, you know, to the greatest amount of all the things, all the lies he said about him. Also, don't forget, very recently, also what he did to the career of Pastor Sage Izeyamu. And now he also came back to come and apologize afterwards. So he's that kind of person that everybody should take seriously. A man who speaks from both sides of his mouth and apologize at night? No. He must allow Ogbewolu to come out and speak to other people. He cannot come and confuse us and distract us from staying on the issues. And I must commend Aswa Ighodalo for he has taken steps to institute a legal action against him. I am told over 20 billion naira. There must be consequences for bad behavior. Politics is not a yardstick for you to come and spew lies, propaganda, and tarnish the image and reputation of people over time. If that was the case, I'm not sure he would have ever become governor of this state if people were allowed to come and cast aspersion on his personality. So for me, it should be condemned, root, stem, and branches by those people, and those people must remain focused on the issues and ask the candidate to come and speak to their manifesto and stop speaking to proxies like Oshiomhole, who should be at home now resting and focusing on the business of becoming a senator.
Let me get your thoughts on this, Barrister Umoru.
Well, it's quite unfortunate that at this stage, like my elder brother said, at this stage in life, that someone who has some kind of, who has garnered some kind of respect, some level of statesmanship, can just fall into the mud and attempt to drag others with him. Now, we're talking about Planwell Watershed that was incorporated sometime around 1992. They had two offices, two known offices, one in Wire Road and one in Ekpoma Ujiolen Road, to be specific. Now, I remember because I was preparing to go into secondary school at that time. They called themselves Planwell Watershed Commodity Brokers. It was just a Ponzi scheme. And like my Leonard friend had just said, the directors, the founders of that company, their names are in public domain. You can do a simple check and find that it's a family business. Three, a husband, wife, and I think a brother or something, but a family business, not a single one associated with Asue Godalo, not a single one associated with the current governorship candidate of the PDP. So where those stories come from can only be from a place where someone thinks that they don't have much to say in terms of addressing issues, but how best can we channel the attention of the people of Edo State as negatively as we can, so that we can sell our own candidate and then, throw as much mud as possible on their candidate. That's what happens when you are bereft of issues to address. And that is exactly what is happening. Fortunately, our legal system is quite open. Law reports are published. There is even a celebrated case of Planwell Watershed against a Vincent Ogala. You can just go and Google it. You see so many cases, so many matters regarding this. Not a single one of them had the governorship candidate of the PDP even mentioned anywhere, not to mention being one of the parties or joined in the suit. It's like all these stories we used to hear when we were growing up of the match between Nigeria and India that nobody ever watched, but everybody claimed it happened. We have found ourselves there again.
Fantastic. But what is the import of this development, and what's your take on how the electorate should perceive these comments, these statements?
Yeah, for me, the electorate must be mindful and take this kind of political propaganda with a pinch of salt. Because, like I said, I've established very clearly on the character of, with all due respect to him, or Comrade Oshiomhole, he speaks one thing in the morning and come out in the night to come and apologize. And he has done that repeatedly, Patosage Izeyamo, Chife Sama, he has even, accused all the people he is now in bed with. He has accused them at one point or the other. And he has always come back to come and apologize for all these misstatements. I don't know what exactly Comrade is on lately, And it's kind of fortunate that Comrade is not on the ballot. I keep wondering, why on earth is he now decided to become a spokesperson at his age? He should be a serving senator who should be in National Assembly as we speak, moving motions on how he's going to fix the Benin-Auchi Road or the Benin-Ekpoma Road, currently bedeviling the people of his entire district. But what do we find? A man at 70 years old man climbing on stage, jumping up and down, and lying through his teeth. Edo people must call a spade and call him to order. We must begin to stay on the issues, look at the manifestos, and ask them a pointed question. Just now, I saw my learned senior struggling to answer some of the questions you have put to him. That is the challenge that we face in this current election. The candidate themselves, I'm told right now that right here in this complex, we have Asue Godalo engaging people on your radio station. But where is Okpebolu? We have been asking, where is Okpebolu? Where is his manifesto? Where is his pedigree? Where is it coming from? I did a search. He has no company nowhere. He has never run any company, not even a computer shop in Mission Road. They keep telling you that he's an IT guru that passed WAEC at the age of 40. But for Christ's sake, Edo people are very educated, they're very enlightened. They know where we are at the moment. We cannot afford to hand over this state to this same crop of people who are never do well, who have been Christian to be lions and tigers. All they know is how to profligate, destroy the state resources and use the state resources to celebrate billions and billions with their girlfriends and their cronies. So Edo people know what we want, and we have stated it clearly. Beauty to these elections, the candidates themselves must come out and tell us what they want to do and stop trying to misinform the people and defame the character of people who have built their reputation over time. As we speak, Just recently, after Godalo had to resign from all the board of multinational companies that year. There's no record of him having been involved in any form of Ponzi or any form of fraudulent activity. So Oshiomhole should be apologizing by now. If not, $20 billion lawsuit is already hanging over his neck, and I wonder where he's going to pay it from when the courts give a final verdict against him.
All right, let's. I think I heard you say something like this has been a pattern in the last couple of days, weeks, and months, maybe years. I want you to establish that point.
Okay. Now, you hear things, you hear certain statements come up that just deviate totally from issues. We've had this plan well matter. Okay, there's something I left out. As at 1992, we know where Dr. Asoye Ighodalo was. He was building his newly founded law firm in Lagos. Not just that. During that same period, he was one of those concerned professionals who were at the forefront against the military junta trying to re-entrench democracy in Nigeria. But where was Comrade Adams Oshiomhole around this time? Because everybody seems to assume that, oh, they know one person mentioned Plan Well, everybody knows about Plan Well. Where were they at this time? Where was the governorship candidate of the APC at this time? Where were they? So we can establish where he was. Now, go back a bit. You have another pattern. You hear things like recent elections. Now, you hear things like, oh, he doesn't speak so-and-so language. He doesn't speak his language. He's not from his place and all that. He hasn't stayed there. How many of, let's begin with Comrade Adams Oshiomhole. Everyone knows where he plied his trade in Kaduna. It is not a secret that Senator Monday Okpebholo is practically a Jos boy. Absolutely. It's not a secret. Mm-hmm. So what now makes it some kind of crime for Dr. Asoye Ighodalo to have been, to have worked in Lagos for most of his life? That's one. Two, Edo State has so many different tribes and tongues. Which of them should one speak to be able to govern the entire state? All of them, any of them, or none of them? These are not the issues. You can see how easy it is to deviate from these issues. Now, let's go back a bit. We've had defamation. We've had, my Leonard friend just talked about Comrade Adams Oshiomhole having a track record of, in the heat of events, and I can understand, in the heat of events, making a statement here, going back to apologize. We've seen it, like I said, with Isaiah. We've seen it with the Esama. We've seen it with Gabriel, with Lucky Gideon, the former governor of Edo State. So it is a pattern that goes on over and over and over until it is set in the hearts of the people that they can no longer focus on that which is germane to what our issues are in Edo State. Stop and ask yourself, how many times do you engage someone who is a supporter, who is an affiliate, who is a friend, who is a member of the APC in Edo State? How many times do you engage them and then you are faced with sound analysis of the economy? And I can answer, zero. So that is the pattern they want to establish. And if the people of Edo State allow themselves to be distracted, it could be dangerous. However, I believe that this state has made that statement before. We have made that statement before. When Edo State came together and said, look, Edo, no be Lagos. So I believe that the average Edo State citizen can think for himself and come to conclusions by himself and realize the difference between smoke and the substance.
We also heard, I think some time ago, that it was said, this was in the social media, that Dr. Asoye Ighodalo doesn't have a home in his village. That statement came out, very strongly. Yeah. And we also saw the reaction. You want to lap up on that?
Yeah. For me, again, that's another life and bit of air that has been dislodged. It has been uprooted right from the taproots. He has
what was the source of that statement?
It's the same with Oshiomhole. Like I told you, It's unfortunate because this is an elder statement, and I will not be sitting here to kind of want to begin to question the sanity of an elder statement or a former governor of the state, with all due respect to him. There's something really that is high on this period. So he keeps saying things that are very unfounded, that are very, mind-boggling, that can really be dismissed by even a primary one, student. He has a home in Woimi. He was even at the forefront several years ago to have been the one to attract power to his own home, in Woimi, and that is public knowledge. Even Oshiomhole knows that. Even Oshiomhole, we even saw videos that when Aswe Ighodalo lost the father, Oshiomhole came for that burial in Woimi and even spent the night in the home of Aswe Ighodalo, in his ancestral home. Oshiomhole spent a night there. So for such a man who spent a night with himself and his guests during the burial of Aswe Ighodalo, to now turn around 360 to come and lie, barefaced lie, is for me, if I should even start calling for the psychiatric to start doing some mental re-evaluation on people like Adam Oshiomhole. Because how can a man who stayed in my house, ate my food, drank my water, now come out 360 just several years after they say, I don't have a home in my home? Is that not something that is a cause of concern? So I understand he's emotionally vested this election. He believes that the election for him is do or die. He wants to come back as a third-term governor in Edo State through his proxy, Okpebholo. That's why he's everywhere, campaigning, even lying through his teeth. So for me, Edo people know better. This same man was rejected in 2020 because having destroyed the reputation of Pastor Zagizeyamu, you now came back again to start campaigning for the same man shamelessly. This same man is on record to have fired the deputy governor candidate of APC. He was the one that accused Denko. It's on record. Accused him of being a Yahoo commissioner. He said so on record. He said so. This same man is not coming back to now say Denko is not a saint. For Christ's sake, Edo people should go back to our recent history and begin to call Oshiomhole to order. He's not the only former governor in this state. We have former Lucky Gbenedion. We had, Osareme Osumbo. These men have maintained dignified silence as statesmen. Why is Oshiomhole dancing about like a Babonelimi? Why is he? So we must be able to ask him to go and sit down and allow the candidate themselves to come out and speak for themselves.
Okay.
Not by proxies.
Okay. Let me get you in. The election is just a few days away. There have been concerns about the security of lives and property, particularly the electorate in this election. We saw the IGP making a very profound statement of banning the state security network in this election, even though there's been reaction on that. What's your take on this? But just yesterday, we got some assurances that all hands will be on deck to ensure that Edo people come out to vote in this election. But first, I'd like you to give me your assessment of the perception of Edo people as far as this election is concerned, based on the campaign messaging and the style of messaging and the engagement so far.
Well, from the campaign messaging, from the style of messaging, and if we include the assurances given to us by the IG of police, I must say that the average Edo man now is quite skeptical of these assurances. Albeit ready to come out and vote, still some skepticism about the genuineness of these assurances. Let us look at it like this way. You have a one-sided enforcement of arrests, detentions, and whisking away of everyone that is deemed popular, or everyone that is deemed a kind of threat that happens to be on the side of Dr. Aswe Ighodalo. But there have been several petitions written, several complaints about known members of the APC, for example, known supporters who have been seen in some places, it's on public domain, making threats, brandishing guns and all that. Not a single one of them has been arrested, invited, detained, or anything of the sort. But then you suddenly find members of the PDP being whisked away, into oblivion. We've not heard about any of them being charged. So the average Edo citizen has to wonder how genuine these assurances. And then, yes, one would assume that the disarming or the banning or the disbanding, however they want to call it, of the state vigilante network, which has actually been quite efficient, complementing the police. I'm a lawyer. I know how I go to the police station from time to time. I know how much work these people take off the shoulders of the police. You know, citizens arrest, fishing out, locating places that policemen who are not from this state ordinarily will not find. So I can understand if they think, okay, there are too many arms in circulation or something. However, this lopsided enforcement will make the average citizen ask himself, how safe are we? Or how sure are we that in the event of violence, these people are going to be on our side and not against us? Or these people are not going to be protecting us from those who are being violent and allowing them continue, or just watch. We've seen it happen some years ago, almost a decade ago in Lagos. We saw that thing play out, where policemen stood and watched while ballot buses were being carted away. So one is tempted, and reasonably so, to be afraid that this is what these people are planning. And you cannot blame them. You cannot blame them at all. So if the IG of police and the commissioner of police are going to be true to their office as dispassionate and neutral law enforcement agents, law enforcement officers, then they must, by all means, ensure that they are not lopsided in any way. They are not lopsided in their enforcement. They are not lopsided in their decision making. They are not lopsided in their attending to complaints. They are not lopsided in any way. If not, one would have a situation that would be obvious to all that the law in this manner is not on our side, or the law enforcement is not on our side. So I want not just I want both the law enforcement and INEC to assure us that they are going to play their role, not just in words now, by their actions, that they are going to play their role to be dispassionate and neutral and to be on the side of everyone without showing favoritism to anyone. Then and only then can we say, okay, we trust that these people, we trust them, we are safe in their hands.
Okay. Let me get a final word from you as we call it a wrap now, Barrister Osai.
Yes, sir. Well, on a final note, I want to call on all the Edo people to come out in their numbers, to come out and vote for the kind of their choice. You know, for obvious reasons, I would commend to them as well, Godalo. They must come out, vote, ensure that their vote is counted, their vote is uploaded, and the winner is announced before they leave the polling unit. Because from the body language of the police and INEC, because there is a new report that has not been debunked, that the Edo State Rec is a cousin to former Governor Nyesom Wike. And the INEC has not come out to debunk that issue. That for me is very sad. In this 21st century, a known political figure who is neither in APC or PDP as of today will have his own cousin preside over an election where he has a vested interest. And INEC wants us to fold our arms and watch them commit this daylight robbery. Edo people must come out. We have done it before in 2020. We must come out in our numbers. If we were entertaining any fears before now, this is the time to be more emboldened. We must come out in our numbers. Your father, your mother, your sister, even in the diasporans, come back home. Because what is at stake is the future of Edo. What is at stake is the progress of Edo. What is at stake is the safety of our lives and property. And the Lord who can guarantee it, we must reaffirm and reassure ourselves that the power in the people is more than the people in power. And we have done it before, we will do it again.
All right. What's your final take on this?
My final take is this. I want the people of Edo State to come out en masse and vote. It is easier to manipulate elections. It is easier to rig. It is easier to commit electoral fraud when you do not have enough people exercising their franchise and watching over their votes. So, irrespective of the innuendo, irrespective of the melodrama, irrespective of the vaudeville of errors that seem to be playing around, Edo State people should come out and vote, because one person at home that is qualified to vote that doesn't come out to vote is +1 for the other person. And like my learned friend said, while I am not partisan, my choice is an obvious one. I would recommend Dr. Asue Ighodalo.
All right, thank you, gentlemen, for your time with us on the program. If we have more times in the build-up before the deadline to end campaign and all of this issue, Pablo, also, of course, we're going to continue our conversations on Edo Decides. Thank you, Bryce Moro. Thank you, Bryce Society.
Thank you so much for having us.